You may now begin your presentation.
So hello, my name is Natalia. I'm a founder and CEO of Weaver. And today I'm going to tell you about how it all got started. Over 80% of people around the world are exposed to air that's considered unhealthy. And this is a very sad story. And it actually inspired me to start a PhD research in this area. So I spent the last 9 years studying and building new devices that monitor and diagnose things in our air, both indoors and outdoors. And what I have realized is, through doing all that research, is that our buildings systems in the air distribution systems are actually broken. First, there is an issue of contamination that I already suspected. I mean, nobody really knows how good are those filters and when you need to replace it. And they actually know how it affects your day, your health, your productivity, your ability to work throughout the day. In fact, there is over $6,000 loss per person per year, according to recent studies, in terms of the impact of indoor air on your productivity. Second of all, there are undiagnosed issues. Over 25% of the systems in the buildings have issues that are undiagnosed within the HVAC system. And this can lead to major failures in the building, as it did recently to a big hospital in California, where the whole building operation failed because of the failing HVAC system, patient records, everything. In addition, large amount of energy goes into managing those systems, as well as there is a huge risk of contamination. Third is the lack of data. This is you might not realize, but this is a huge problem right now with all this new regulation coming into place about making buildings greener, making buildings smarter, making them more efficient. However, we still have limited data into actually showing how well those buildings perform in terms of those regulations. So there is a huge opportunity for this. Our vision at Weaver is to develop smart advanced sensors and predictive analytics solutions that help improve the HVAC system in the buildings and in terms of their operations and indoor air quality. Weaver is a small device. You can see a working prototype here. So it gets added easily to the HVAC vents. And what it does is it actually monitors several key metrics that's important for the HVAC system performance, including chemical, biological, and physical metrics. It also actually is powered, and it's a plug-and-play module that can be easily added to any systems, including legacy system. And it extracts some of its power directly from the HVAC system, which is something that's very unique. Third of all, we combine all of those data sources together and do recognition of patterns. So we can detect issues and predict issues earlier with the HVAC system, and also provide actionable insights to building managers. The system is also secure. We are partnered with companies who help us manage the security of the system. So what does the system actually do? Well, first of all, it can diagnose issues in the building. You basically get this map of everything that goes on in the building in terms of occupancy, air quality, system performance. It recommends what you should do to fix it in case there is issues. It tells you how much energy can be saved, because those systems, as I mentioned, are often mismanaged. And it also even recommends personalized filtration solutions. So one building might have stuffiness issues, another building like hospitals might have contamination issues. So it has very unique personalized solution that we can offer by partnering with filtration companies. In terms of competition, I mean, this market is really, there's lots of people in this market. But how Weaver differentiates itself is that we basically track more metrics. We use those greater number of metrics to increase the system accuracy because we can more easily detect patterns. We can detect and suggest things that can be done to reduce energy usage. And also we can detect contamination sources. And not just sources, but source locations. So we can offer very rich insights into the building performance in terms of indoor air quality. And this has been built over 9 years of research. In addition to that, we have a very unique business model. We have validated this extensively with different building managers and contractors, which is a subscription business model compared to the single fee that other organizations paying. And it allows them to easily get started using this solution. So how does the current system look like? Well, basically, if you have like a building, like a hospital, they would usually work with contractors, and those contractors would have to travel back and forth on numerous locations, keeping often manual records, surprisingly. And even then, the system would have issues undiagnosed and cause failure, because there is no real-time insights and predictive insights into the performance. So for contractors, they're spending a lot of time, a lot of money, a lot of fuel being wasted on the road. And for the building managers, they're wasting energy, they're having contamination issues and costly failures. So what Weaver does is we offer a cloud solution that basically helps them track the energy usage and reduce it, save time and money, and improve health or productivity of their employees. We have spoken to hundreds of different organizations across the ecosystem, building managers, developers, contractors, and they all told us that they need a solution like this. And so how are we going to market? So we are actually going to be working with contractors and guys who basically manage and own equipment inside those buildings. And they actually offer to introduce us to the building managers, which is really interesting, and it really helps us getting business over the ground fast. We are going to be, our business model is, as I mentioned, subscription. We are charging building managers and contractors a fee for this. But later on, as we grow, this system is very useful to a lot of other types of businesses, including consultants, building developers who can integrate this right into their buildings and basically manage the building performance and make sure they meet those regulations, as well as directly into HVAC system. This is our opportunity to scale, as well as we've got a lot of interest from vehicles and basically integrating this into other types of systems. This market opportunity is huge, both in terms of analytics and sensors. There's various organizations, such as, for example, filter manufacturers and HVAC manufacturers who currently don't have any good data on their performance or detailed data on their performance of their equipment. Not to mention building developers, and consulting companies. We have spoken to a number of different organizations and have identified several key risks that are associated with this venture, including fragmented IoT market, powerful industry players, and unpredictable supply chain. We are mitigating all of those risks by value-added business model for offering unique algorithms and analytics, offering innovative service offering to their customers by adding services on top of our data, such as customized filtration solutions. And we have new products in our pipelines, like smaller versions of these devices to be integrated in vehicles and so on. And in addition to that, in terms of supply chain, we actually have been able to secure financing from the manufacturers of the sensors and devices themselves, which is actually helps us save a lot of operation costs.
Presentation time has now expired. We will now begin the question and answer period. Judges, please raise your hand if you have a question, and a microphone will be brought to you.
Could you tell me a little bit about your team, please?
Yes, thank you. That's a great question. I'm very happy to say our team. So my background, as I mentioned, is engineering. I actually founded the company, another company in this space, and licensed the technology, and that was very successful, scaling across Asia, Europe, and Canada. And this is my second venture. And my partner, she has a lot of experience in operations and finance, so she's handling that part of the business. We're also extremely lucky to have a great team of advisors, both in the building science, architecture, tech founder space, and as well as a huge ecosystem of supporters. We are part of Next 36 cohort, and we have received support and funding from Next Canada, as well as Ryerson University, York University, and U of T. So we are very lucky. This would not be possible without all the support we have. In addition, I want to mention that we also have recently been on a trip to Taiwan, which really helped us build out our manufacturing pipeline. And we got some partnerships out of that, both with the partners who are going to be piloting our solution in hospitals, as well as manufacturers themselves who are very interested, not just to actually build this solution, but actually test it in their facilities. And we recently have been invited also to do a pilot study in Belgium, in the city of Antwerp. Over a month, we're going to be doing that this September, and basically showcasing the value proposition of this solution, not just in Canada, but also abroad. Thank you.
Natalia over here. What is the proprietary nature of the actual product? Do you have any competitive advantage, any, sorry.
No, understood. This great question as well. So there is several key aspects. This is a patent pending solution, and there is several very unique aspects about this. The first aspect is, of course, the process of the going from the data itself to the actual insights and actionable insights and suggestions we are providing. This is more complicated than it seems. We basically have to make the data accurate, because a lot of the sensors right now are not very high level of quality control. And second of all, we have to move from that sensor data that's made more accurate to the actionable insights. So we do pattern recognition on this data using a variety of machine learning techniques, which basically we extract insights first on what are the issues inside the HVAC system, predicting them. And then second of all, we can detect those sources of pollution or contamination indoors very early, before they become serious. The second unique aspect of the solution is actually the part of the hardware system. So we have a module that makes the system very easy to use. So it's actually extracting some of the power to charge the internal battery through the airflow and the temperature. So that's another unique aspect that actually some organizations were interested in licensing by itself. So there is unique solution that can be also offered as part of this business later.
Natalia, over here. I've had about 22 questions, but I'll settle for 3. Firstly, the question you just asked about the patent. What countries are you patented in, or applying for? And do you perceive it to be a barrier to entry? Because I'm not sure from the description that it's not copyable, first of all. Second of all, the angel investment of $2.5 million, do you have that in hand, or is that a wish? And lastly, this projection in technical terms is known as a hockey stick. And I just wanted to know, from your perspective, what are your major assumptions to achieve what you've got on the paper here?
Right, those are all wonderful questions. I would love to get those other 22 questions after the presentation. So first of all, on the first question, which is, just can you remind me? Again?
The patent. What countries, why is it a barrier to entry? Why is it not copyable?
Yes, so regarding the patent, so we are starting with US PTO, but we are going to be filing PCT in several key countries. Mainly the countries that we're going to market in Europe, in Asia, and in Canada. Actually US as well. So the reason why it's a barrier to entry is, so it's a combination, as I mentioned, of a hardware and a software solution. The big component, we are essentially a data company at heart with hardware added. So there is a lot of unique things that's part of the solution that's hard to copy. There is parts of it that can be copied, of course, and we've seen lots of cases in many places where technologies have been copied, but there is several components that we are, first of all, assembling here in Canada, and second of all, there is a software layer that's hard to copy. I cannot really go into too much detail. The second question you had was about the funding, the financing, and how much of that we already have. So we got some offers already from several different investors in Canada, as well as in Asia. I cannot disclose exactly who they are, but we have not received the funding, so this is something we are in conversations. We have to acquire a couple of more numbers to be able to get that funding, and this is what we are doing between now and September through those pilots. And your third question, major assumptions to achieve our sales projections. So so basically, we actually build those sales projections not from top down, but from bottom up. And the reason they look so optimistic is because we actually have a lot of those organizations that we are currently speaking to. They're offered to introduce us to other organizations who gave us ballpark numbers of how many units they want to purchase. So this is something that we use to build out those projections. Of course, there is several risks and assumptions built into that. And of course, we'll need to prove out with a few first pilots in order to get those other pilots, because some organizations are more risk-averse than others. So this is why there is several layers of assumptions, but those numbers have basis of actual data in them.
Hi, Natalia. So early on, you were looking at this as a solution for, you had it attached to carriages, and it was an air filter system, and it's much more sophisticated now. And I'm just wondering if you can share how you evolved your thinking.
That's a wonderful question. Thank you for that. I didn't have a chance to go into this, but this company actually evolved through several iterations. So, as you mentioned, in 2015, we founded another company that was focused on providing sensors and filter solutions, so a portable purifier for young kids to protect them from the effect of air pollution. We got a lot of data out of that company, and we learned a lot from that process. It was a consumer-focused product. We got a lot of interest from parents. However, the economics of that business didn't make sense. We spoke to parents. We started speaking to building managers, and this is how we pivoted into this business. But that was a really great experience because it taught us a lot, and we actually still have that product sort of on a back burner because we really want to make this possible. We are still really passionate about the problem of young kids not being, exposed to such high level of pollution in many places, and including even in Canada, in US. So this is something that we still want to do, but we basically learned a lot from that process, and we want to scale this business out first and be able to run that as a social enterprise or a non-profit as part of our mission going forward. Yes.
Hi there. Firstly, great presentation. Couple of questions. So one, you mentioned that's a prototype that's on stage. So how far are you from market and having a market-ready product? That's the first. And the second is, this seems like a very long sales cycle. So can you touch on what the sales cycle might look for some of your ideal clients?
Right, those are all very great questions as well. So first of all, about the product itself. So we actually went through many different iterations of the product over the last year. So the company was founded in March of 2017. We have built, so this is a working prototype, but it's actually deployed in many places in Toronto as well as abroad. So it's actually not just a prototype, but also a working product. We still have a few things to finalize with regards to design to go into full-scale manufacturing later this fall. With regards to your second question was with regards to the assumptions, or?
No, this was the sales cycle.
The sales cycle. So the sales cycle really varies between different types of buildings. As I mentioned, we spoke to a lot of different buildings in both commercial, hospitality, healthcare sectors, and really there is a lot of interest from them. The sales cycle is very different. We are starting with a clinical kind of setting just because there is such a high need. The sales cycle, of course, can take longer, but we are basically building out a very useful data set that we can then export to other types of installations. So the sales cycle on average for us, it can last between a month or 2 months, so it depends on the customer. But sometimes it actually is even faster if it's a small-scale operation. And we usually have several sales kind of pipelines going on at the same time because of this. I want to highlight the reason we are starting with kind of the hospital and clinical setting, even though it has a larger sales cycle, is because they currently have a lot of regulations that are built into those institutions. They have to meet higher standards. If we can fit our technology into those standards, it really gives us a lot of barrier, it places our technology in a very unique place where a lot of competitors cannot get into. So basically our vision for the future is to become part of the building standards, the building code.
Your time has expired. Judges and guests, please join me in thanking Natalia.